Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather not merely to hear words, but to awaken our souls. To walk with God is not just an act, it is a journey of courage, hope, and unwavering faith. In every step we take, there lies an opportunity to embrace His guidance and reflect His light in a world that often feels uncertain. Trust in God's timing, even when the path seems unclear, is a lesson that life whispers to us in the quietest of moments, in the spaces between our hurried breaths and the frantic beats of our hearts. We live in a world that thrives on immediacy, where every door seems to demand a push, every opportunity a grasp, every moment a demand for our impatience. Yet, the divine rhythm of the universe, the gentle orchestration of a higher power, moves in a cadence far beyond our understanding, a cadence that does not conform to our schedules or our frantic desires. To trust in God's timing is to surrender the illusion of control, to acknowledge that while we may plan and strive, there exists a greater plan, a tapestry so intricate and so deliberate that our eyes cannot fully perceive it. It is in this surrender that true peace begins to form, the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by circumstance, that cannot be disturbed by the changing tides of fortune or the unpredictable twists of life. We must learn to see the beauty in delay, to recognize that waiting is not an absence but a preparation, that the moments in which we feel most stagnant are often the moments in which God is quietly shaping us, molding our character, refining our heart, and strengthening our resolve. Trust is not a passive act. It is an active engagement with faith, a conscious decision to believe that what is meant for us will arrive at the perfect moment, and that nothing, not a rush, not a worry, not a force of will, can accelerate or delay what is divinely ordained. The path may seem obscured, littered with uncertainty, clouded with questions, but even in the shadow of doubt, there is a light that never falters, a presence that never abandons, a guide that walks with us silently, nudging us forward in ways we cannot always recognize. We may want to run ahead, to carve our own way, to insist that the world bend to our timing, but there is wisdom in restraint, strength in patience, and power in waiting for God's signal. Often, when we look back upon the chapters of our own lives, we realize that what we once thought was delay was actually divine choreography, a sequence of moments arranged not by chance, but by intention, moments that taught us lessons we could not have learned otherwise, moments that prepared us to receive blessings that we were not yet ready to embrace. Trust in God's timing is trust in the unseen, belief in what cannot be measured or controlled, faith in a hand that we cannot see but whose touch shapes every heartbeat and every breath. It is the understanding that life unfolds not according to our frantic desires, but according to a wisdom so profound that even our mistakes, our missteps, and our detours are folded into the greater design. Every closed door, every missed opportunity, every season of waiting carries with it a message, a lesson, a preparation for something far greater than what we imagined. To trust is to listen for that message, to attune our hearts to the quiet whispers of divine guidance, to recognize that even in uncertainty, we are not lost, that even in the darkness, we are being led. Impatience is natural. The human heart longs to see results, to witness the manifestation of prayers, to feel the tangible fruits of hope. Yet it is precisely in the act of waiting that our faith is tested and refined. Trust does not demand that we understand. It demands that we believe, that we hold steadfast to the invisible thread that connects us to the source of all creation, that we walk with assurance even when the road is veiled in fog, even when the destination is hidden from view. Life, with all its complexity and unpredictability, invites us to a deeper awareness, to a surrender that is not weakness but strength, a strength that comes from knowing that the timing of our blessings is not random but intentional, that the universe conspires in ways beyond our comprehension to bring what we need at exactly the right moment. The path may appear fragmented, the journey disjointed, yet in the orchestration of divine timing, every fragment, every twist, every turn carries significance, contributing to a mosaic of purpose that we may not immediately perceive, but which, in hindsight, reveals a perfection we could not have engineered ourselves. To trust in God's timing is to trust in the story of our own life, to have faith that every chapter, every line, every pause has meaning, that the pauses are not voids but intervals of growth, and that the moments of struggle are not setbacks but preparation for the abundance that is to come. We must cultivate patience as an art form, a deliberate practice of faith that acknowledges the unseen hand guiding us, a discipline of the soul that teaches us to wait not with anxiety but with expectation, not with frustration but with hope, not with fear, but with confidence in the divine orchestration of our lives. It is in this space of trust, of surrender, that we become attuned to subtle signs, small miracles, and quiet blessings. The gentle confirmations that remind us we are not alone, that the universe, in concert with our faith, moves in perfect synchrony with our deepest needs. Every delay, every moment of uncertainty, every time the world seems silent, is in fact a time of preparation, a moment when God is crafting circumstances, aligning people, and opening doors in ways that are invisible to the hurried eye but unmistakable to the heart that trusts. To trust in God's timing is to release the grip of our own agenda, to stop imposing deadlines on destiny, to recognize that the richness of life often lies not in the speed with which things happen, but in the depth with which they unfold. We are called to walk with courage through the unknown, to step forward even when clarity is absent, to embrace the journey even when the path is hidden, knowing that each step, guided by faith, brings us closer to the fulfillment of divine promise. Trust teaches us humility, reminding us that we are participants in a plan far larger than ourselves, and that our human impatience is no match for the precision of divine timing. It is in this humility that we find grace, the grace to accept delays, the grace to endure uncertainty, and the grace to recognize that waiting is not an obstacle, but a blessing. Our lives, when viewed through the lens of trust, reveal a rhythm and a purpose that we could never have orchestrated on our own. What appears as an inconvenience, as a frustration, as a postponement, is in truth a necessary step in the refinement of our character, the strengthening of our faith, and the unfolding of our destiny. Trust in God's timing requires that we let go of doubt and fear, that we release the illusion of control, and that we embrace a perspective that sees beyond the immediate, that perceives the unseen forces working tirelessly to align circumstances, hearts, and opportunities for our ultimate good. In trusting, we cultivate resilience, patience, and a deeper sense of peace, recognizing that even when the path seems unclear, we are guided, protected, and led exactly where we need to be. It is in this trust that we find freedom from anxiety, liberation from the need to force outcomes, and a profound connection to the divine rhythm that orchestrates every heartbeat and every moment of our lives. Trust becomes a source of strength, a beacon that illuminates the fog of uncertainty, a light that steadies the trembling heart and reassures the weary soul. When we choose to trust, we align ourselves with the flow of grace, allowing life to unfold in its own perfect timing, trusting that what is meant for us will come, that the lessons we need will arrive, and that every step, no matter how uncertain, is part of a divine journey that holds purpose, meaning, and love beyond measure. The essence of trust lies not in understanding the mechanics of divine timing, but in embracing the certainty that God's plan is unfailing, that His timing is flawless, and that our role is to walk faithfully, patiently, and courageously, allowing each moment to teach, to prepare, and to lead us closer to the fulfillment of His promises. Life may be unpredictable. The path may twist in ways we do not anticipate. Yet trust sustains us, steadies us, and reminds us that even in the unseen, we are not abandoned. Even in the unknown, we are guided. And even in the waiting, we are moving toward the destiny that has been lovingly prepared for us. Through trust, we learn to see the invisible hand guiding our steps, to feel the subtle nudges that direct us, and to recognize that every delay, every pause, every moment of uncertainty carries with it a divine lesson, a hidden blessing, and a preparation for a joy that is worth every second of waiting. To trust in God's timing is to surrender our need for immediate answers, to embrace patience as a gift, and to walk with the quiet confidence that the unfolding of life, even when unclear, is perfect, intentional, and filled with love beyond our comprehension. In this trust, we find hope, we find courage, we find peace, and we find the strength to continue walking even when the horizon is shrouded in mist, knowing that each step forward is guided, each moment prepared, and each experience orchestrated with precision and care that only divine timing can provide. Let gratitude guide every step of your journey, for it is in the act of giving thanks that the soul awakens to the fullness of life, the richness of existence, and the quiet miracles that surround us each and every day. Gratitude is more than a fleeting feeling. It is a lens through which we view the world, a posture of the heart that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the mundane into the sacred, and the routine into a revelation. When we walk through life guided by gratitude, we discover that even the smallest moments carry weight, that even the simplest gestures harbor beauty, and that even the most ordinary encounters hold profound significance. To let gratitude guide us is to recognize the hidden blessings that lie beneath apparent challenges, to see the threads of love, support, and divine orchestration woven through the fabric of our lives, threads that we might overlook if our hearts were not attuned to thanksgiving. It is to understand that every breath is a gift, every sunrise a poem, every step an opportunity to honor the life we have been given and the journey that stretches before us. Gratitude opens our eyes to abundance, reminding us that no matter how difficult the path may seem, we are surrounded by countless reasons to be thankful, reasons that sustain us, uplift us, and keep our spirits steady, even in moments of trial and uncertainty. It teaches us to pause, to breathe, to reflect, and to acknowledge the quiet work of love and grace that surrounds us, the unseen efforts of those who support us, and the providential forces that guide our steps, even when we cannot see the destination. When we allow gratitude to be our guide, we learn to embrace humility, recognizing that we are not solitary travelers, but participants in a vast, interconnected web of life. Each moment an encounter, a part of a larger story that stretches far beyond our individual understanding. Gratitude transforms our perception, turning obstacles into lessons, setbacks into opportunities, and difficulties into teachers that instruct us not only about resilience, but also about the richness that comes from recognizing the gifts hidden within every experience. To walk with gratitude is to cultivate an inner garden where appreciation blooms, where the flowers of joy, peace, and contentment grow even amidst storms, where the fragrance of thankfulness permeates every thought, action, and decision, coloring our journey with a hue of sacred awareness. It is to recognize that the life we live is not solely the result of our own efforts, but a confluence of blessings, support, and grace that flows from sources seen and unseen, from family, friends, mentors, strangers, and the divine hand that orchestrates all things for our ultimate good. Gratitude is an anchor in moments of uncertainty, a compass when the path seems unclear, and a light that illuminates the shadowed corners of our experiences, revealing the beauty and lessons we might otherwise miss. It encourages us to celebrate not only the triumphs but also the trials, understanding that within every challenge lies a seed of growth, a lesson in perseverance, and an opportunity to recognize the abundance that is always present, even when it is not immediately visible. To let gratitude guide every step is to approach life with intention, to move with awareness, and to make conscious the recognition of all that sustains us, from the simplest acts of kindness to the grandest expressions of love, from the warmth of the sun on our face to the quiet reassurance of a friend's presence, from the lessons of failure to the triumphs of achievement. Gratitude is not passive. It is an active, dynamic force that shapes our perception, influences our decisions, and deepens our connection to the world around us. It teaches us empathy, for in recognizing our blessings, we also see the struggles and needs of others, prompting acts of generosity, compassion, and service that ripple outward in ways that we may never fully comprehend. When gratitude is our guide, we become keenly aware of the interconnectedness of all life, the delicate balance of giving and receiving, and the profound truth that every interaction, every encounter, and every moment carries with it the potential for blessing. We begin to see the subtle miracles, the smile of a stranger, the unexpected opportunity, the lesson embedded in hardship, and we learn to receive them with grace, acknowledging that nothing in life is purely accidental and that every experience, whether joyous or challenging, contributes to our growth, understanding, and purpose. To walk guided by gratitude is to cultivate a spirit of mindfulness, to remain present in each moment and aware of the myriad ways in which life supports, teaches, and uplifts us. It is to resist the temptation to dwell on what is lacking, to compare ourselves to others, or to chase endlessly after more, recognizing instead the richness of what is already ours, the abundance that surrounds us, and the infinite reasons to give thanks. Gratitude teaches patience, for it requires us to slow down, to notice, and to appreciate, to understand that fulfillment is not always in the destination, but in the journey itself, in the awareness and acknowledgement of the gifts that accompany each step. It nurtures resilience, for when we see and honor what is good in our lives, we are fortified against despair, bolstered by hope, and strengthened to face adversity with courage and perspective. Gratitude is the quiet power that transforms fear into faith, scarcity into sufficiency, and loneliness into connectedness. It reminds us that even in our struggles, there is always something to hold on to, always a source of light that can guide our hearts through darkness. When we allow gratitude to be our guide, we begin to notice patterns of providence, moments of alignment, and signs of purpose in ways that might otherwise pass unnoticed. Every encounter becomes an opportunity for learning, every challenge a chance to grow, and every gift, no matter how small, a testament to the generosity and care embedded in the universe. Gratitude is an internal compass that aligns our hearts with truth, compassion, and love, shaping not only how we experience life, but also how we contribute to it. It teaches us to speak kindly, to act thoughtfully, and to live intentionally, creating ripples of positivity that extend far beyond our immediate sight or understanding. In practicing gratitude, We honor the sacredness of life itself, recognizing that each heartbeat, each breath, and each moment is a gift to be cherished, celebrated, and nurtured. It is through gratitude that we develop a deeper awareness of the sacred interconnectedness of all things, understanding that our existence is part of a vast, intricate design, and that our recognition and appreciation of it magnifies its beauty, sustains its balance, and allows us to participate fully in the unfolding of life's mysteries. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is missing to what is present, from fear to trust, from isolation to connection, and from longing to fulfillment. It is the lens that allows us to see life in its fullness, to acknowledge the goodness that surrounds us, and to participate in the dance of giving and receiving that defines human existence. To walk with gratitude is to walk with intention, with awareness, and with reverence for the gift of life, knowing that each step, each choice, and each encounter is imbued with significance, guidance, and the potential for transformation. Gratitude encourages us to recognize the divine fingerprints on our journey, the subtle guidance, the unseen support, and the blessings that arrive often in forms we might not expect, but that, when embraced, enrich our lives in profound ways. To allow gratitude to guide every step is to commit to seeing the world not merely as it appears, but as it truly is, a landscape of endless opportunities for appreciation, growth, and love, a canvas upon which the colors of blessing and the strokes of providence are painted with care and precision. Through gratitude, we cultivate an inner clarity that helps us navigate life's complexities, a vision that sees beyond obstacles, a heart that feels beyond loss, and a spirit that embraces abundance in all its forms. It transforms our perspective, enabling us to recognize not only the good but the potential in every moment, the lessons embedded in challenges, and the beauty hidden within trials. Gratitude is the bridge between our hearts and the divine, the connection that allows us to perceive the sacred in the ordinary, the extraordinary in the everyday, and the profound in the seemingly insignificant. It teaches us to honor life, to respect its rhythms, and to engage with it fully, embracing both joy and sorrow as integral parts of the human experience. When we allow gratitude to guide us, we begin to live with greater purpose, to act with greater intentionality, and to love with greater openness, understanding that our awareness of blessings naturally compels us to share them, to uplift others, and to participate in the unfolding of goodness in ways that echo far beyond our individual lives. Gratitude is a force that nourishes the soul, strengthens relationships, and deepens our connection to the world and to the divine, reminding us that life is not solely about achievement or accumulation, but about appreciation, presence, and recognition of the sacred thread that runs through every aspect of existence. It transforms our hearts, opening them to joy, compassion, and empathy, allowing us to perceive beauty where others see nothing, to find hope where despair seems overwhelming, and to hold on to love when fear threatens to overshadow. To walk with gratitude is to live consciously, to see with clarity, to feel with depth, and to move with the awareness that every moment, every encounter, and every experience carries with it the potential to teach, to uplift, and to bless. Gratitude reminds us that life is a precious gift, that each day offers opportunities to give thanks, and that in embracing this mindset, we cultivate resilience, joy, and a profound sense of connection to the divine, to others, and to the very essence of existence itself. It is a light that illuminates the darkness, a balm that soothes the wounded heart, and a compass that directs us toward purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. In allowing gratitude to guide every step, we discover a life rich with blessings, deep in meaning, and overflowing with moments that inspire, uplift, and transform not only ourselves but also the world around us. Strength grows through surrender and faith, not resistance, is a truth that life patiently teaches, often in moments when the weight of circumstance presses upon us so heavily that we are tempted to resist, to fight, and to assert our will in ways that exhaust the body, the mind, and the spirit. Yet true strength is not measured by the intensity of our struggle, nor by our ability to dominate or control the external world. It is measured by the depth of our inner surrender, the courage with which we release the illusion of control, and the faith with which we trust in the unseen forces that guide our lives. Resistance, though natural, often blinds us to the lessons embedded within challenge, obscures the opportunities hidden in difficulty, and drains the energy that could otherwise be devoted to growth, understanding, and alignment with the divine purpose. To surrender is not to give up, it is to give over, to place our trust in a higher power, a force greater than ourselves, a wisdom that sees beyond the limitations of time, circumstance, and our own understanding. Faith is the vessel through which surrender becomes transformative, a conduit for strength that emerges not from clenching tightly but from opening fully, not from grasping desperately but from receiving willingly, and not from resisting life's flow but from moving with it, attuned to the rhythm of grace. When we surrender, we acknowledge our humanity, our limitations, and the reality that life is not entirely within our command, that attempts to dominate or control every situation are often futile and counterproductive. Strength that arises through surrender is flexible, resilient, and enduring, for it is rooted not in ego, pride, or brute force, but in alignment with truth, wisdom, and the guidance of a divine hand that leads us, shapes us, and empowers us to rise above circumstance in ways that resistance could never achieve. The act of surrender is a conscious decision, a brave declaration that we trust more in the unseen, more in the eternal, and more in the unfolding of life's plan than we do in our own temporary solutions. In surrender, we learn patience, humility, and perspective, recognizing that there are seasons in life when waiting, listening, and observing yield greater strength than immediate action ever could. Resistance, while it may produce temporary results, often breeds frustration, bitterness, and fatigue, whereas surrender nourishes the spirit, replenishes the heart, and opens the way for divine intervention, guidance, and provision. Faith fuels surrender, providing the courage to release our grip on outcomes, the trust to move forward despite uncertainty, and the confidence that what is meant for us will not be withheld, and that what is not ours to hold will be taken away with gentle precision. True strength, therefore, is not found in the tension of pushing against life's currents, but in the calm confidence of allowing those currents to carry us toward growth, understanding, and fulfillment. Life's greatest teachers often arrive in the guise of challenges, loss, or disappointment, and it is through surrender that we receive the lessons they offer, the insights they provide, and the opportunities for transformation they present. When we resist, we cling to a limited view, a narrow understanding of events, and a fragile sense of control that blinds us to the larger, more profound narrative in which our lives are enmeshed. Surrender allows us to step back, to see the broader perspective, and to recognize that even in difficulty, even in pain, there is purpose, guidance, and strength being cultivated within us. Faith is the key that unlocks this process, the belief that even when the path is unclear, even when outcomes are uncertain, and even when hope seems distant, there exists a force, a wisdom, and a love that is orchestrating our journey with precision and care. To cultivate strength through surrender and faith is to embrace paradox, to be powerful while yielding, to be courageous while letting go, to be resilient while soft, and to be victorious while accepting that some battles are not ours to fight. It requires the courage to release our attachments, the humility to acknowledge our limitations, and the wisdom to discern when to act and when to yield. Every act of surrender is a lesson in strength, a testament to trust, and a declaration that we are willing to align ourselves with life's deeper currents rather than struggle against them. When we resist, we may see temporary victories, moments when our will seems to bend reality, but these victories are often fleeting, hollow, and costly, leaving behind weariness, disappointment, and a sense of incompleteness. Surrender, guided by faith, produces outcomes that are lasting, nourishing, and deeply fulfilling, for it aligns us with forces beyond our understanding, allowing us to participate in the unfolding of life with clarity, purpose, and grace. The strongest individuals are not those who conquer every obstacle through sheer force, but those who recognize the value of yielding, the power of patience, and the transformative nature of trust. Through surrender, we discover reservoirs of courage we never knew existed, wells of resilience that flow from the recognition that we are held, guided, and supported even when our own strength seems insufficient. Faith is the lens through which surrender becomes meaningful, providing a sense of orientation, a source of reassurance, and a steady hand that guides us through the unknown. The process of surrender teaches discernment, showing us where our efforts are best applied, where intervention is necessary, and where release will yield greater benefit than struggle. Resistance often stems from fear, pride, or attachment. And while these impulses are natural, they can mislead us, consume our energy, and blind us to the guidance that is always available when we open ourselves fully to trust. Strength that comes from surrender and faith is not passive or weak. It is an active, dynamic force that empowers us to meet challenges with clarity, to embrace life with openness, and to move through adversity with resilience. It is strength tempered by wisdom, courage balanced by patience, and power rooted in humility. When we surrender, we create space for miracles, opportunities, and insights to enter our lives, allowing life to flow in alignment with purpose, timing, and divine orchestration. Resistance closes doors, tightens the heart, and limits perception, whereas surrender opens pathways, expands vision, and allows for the manifestation of blessings that might otherwise be denied. Faith sustains surrender, reminding us that what is unseen is as real and as powerful as what is visible, that life's true currents often flow beneath the surface, and that the outcomes we most desire are shaped by forces we cannot always perceive, but can trust to be guiding us toward what is right, just, and necessary for our growth. To cultivate strength in this way requires courage, for surrender challenges the ego, questions our assumptions, and invites us to relinquish our need for certainty, control, and immediate gratification. Yet those who embrace surrender with faith discover a freedom, a resilience, and a depth of character that resistance could never yield. It is in the yielding, the letting go, and the trusting that we find the power to endure, the grace to overcome, and the clarity to navigate life's complexities with integrity and purpose. Life may test us with circumstances that seem insurmountable, with decisions that feel impossible, and with challenges that strain every fiber of our being. Yet in surrender, we find the means to rise above, to navigate with discernment, and to harness the strength that emerges not from opposition, but from alignment, trust, and faith. Strength through surrender is cultivated in the small moments as well as the great, in the choices we make to release resentment, to forgive, to let go of expectations, and to trust in outcomes beyond our control. Each act of surrender builds resilience, deepens understanding, and fortifies the spirit, creating a foundation that carries us through trials, triumphs, and the many unpredictable turns of life. Faith ensures that surrender is not passive or futile. It transforms yielding into an act of courage, weakness into a channel of power, and uncertainty into a vessel of divine guidance. The heart that surrenders in faith becomes a sanctuary of strength, a wellspring of wisdom, and a beacon of hope for oneself and for others. Resistance, while often driven by desire or fear, narrows our vision, restricts our ability to see the full panorama of life, and limits our capacity to receive guidance, insight, and blessings. Surrender opens us to the fullness of experience, allowing us to navigate challenges with grace, accept opportunities with humility, and encounter each moment with a readiness to learn, grow, and evolve. Strength built through surrender is enduring because it is grounded not in circumstance, outcome, or human control, but in the deeper truth of alignment with purpose, divine guidance, and the natural flow of life. Those who walk this path discover that letting go does not mean losing, yielding does not mean weakness, and trusting does not mean passivity. Rather, they learn that in surrender, the soul is strengthened, the heart is expanded, and the spirit is empowered in ways that resistance could never achieve. Faith gives surrender meaning, direction, and context, reminding us that even when the world is chaotic, when outcomes are uncertain, and when challenges loom, there exists a hand, a plan, and a rhythm that supports, guides, and empowers us to navigate life with courage, clarity, and integrity. Through surrender and faith, we cultivate a resilience that cannot be shaken, a peace that cannot be disturbed, and a strength that is steady, enduring, and rooted in the deepest truths of existence. Every act of letting go, every moment of trust, and every choice to surrender strengthens the foundation upon which our lives are built, enabling us to face adversity with composure, to act with wisdom, and to thrive in alignment with the divine flow. To understand this is to recognize that life's power does not reside in resistance, struggle, or the exertion of force, but in the gentle, steady, and unwavering act of trusting, releasing, and aligning with the forces that move the world with precision, intention, and care. Strength, then, is revealed not in the battles we fight against life, but in the courage we exhibit when we release control, the resilience we demonstrate when we trust unseen guidance, and the wisdom we cultivate when we choose faith over resistance. It is through this surrender that we become powerful, resilient, and aligned with the purpose that unfolds uniquely for each individual, and it is through faith that this surrender is sustained, nurtured, and transformed into a force that carries us through every challenge, every joy, and every moment of existence with grace, dignity, and an unwavering sense of strength that comes from beyond ourselves. Walking with God transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary blessings, a truth that is often overlooked in the rush of life, in the pursuit of achievement, in the endless striving for what we think is important. Yet it is precisely in these ordinary moments that the divine has placed seeds of wonder, gratitude, and grace that, when noticed, nurtured, and embraced, reveal the fullness of life, the depth of meaning, and the extraordinary power of faith. To walk with God is not merely to acknowledge His presence in the grand events of life, but to recognize His hand in the quiet moments, the small gestures, the daily routines, and the subtle encounters that often pass unnoticed. yet carry profound significance when perceived through the lens of awareness, love, and reverence. Every sunrise, every breath, every smile, every interaction becomes a conduit of blessing, a window through which we glimpse the extraordinary woven into the fabric of the ordinary, a reminder that life itself is a sacred gift, and that each moment holds within it the potential to uplift, teach, and transform us in ways that are beyond our comprehension. Walking with God requires attentiveness, a heart attuned to the rhythms of the Spirit, a mind open to the whispers of guidance, and a soul willing to see beyond the surface of what appears mundane to the richness that lies beneath. It is in walking with God that we begin to understand that nothing in life is insignificant, that every encounter, every experience, every challenge, and every triumph is infused with divine purpose, designed to shape us, guide us, and prepare us for the blessings that await when we live in alignment with His will. This transformation begins in perception, the conscious choice to see life not through the lens of scarcity, fear, or distraction, but through the lens of faith, hope, and gratitude, recognizing that even the smallest acts of kindness, the quietest moments of reflection, and the most routine aspects of our day carry within them the power to become extraordinary when embraced as part of a larger, divinely orchestrated plan. Walking with God brings a sense of presence, an awareness that each step we take is guided, that each choice we make is observed, and that each moment we experience is saturated with potential, waiting for us to recognize, receive, and honor it. Ordinary moments, sharing a meal, listening to a friend, tending to daily responsibilities, caring for others, or simply observing the beauty of nature become extraordinary blessings when we acknowledge God's presence, His guidance, and His provision in every detail, understanding that nothing is too small to be infused with meaning, purpose, and grace. To walk with God is to cultivate a sensitivity to the sacred in the everyday, to notice the invisible threads that connect us to one another and to the divine, and to respond with a heart that is grateful, open, and ready to participate in the unfolding of life's mysteries. Each moment becomes an opportunity to practice love, kindness, patience, and generosity, knowing that these actions, though ordinary in appearance, carry the extraordinary potential to change lives, impact communities, and reflect the divine light in a world that often overlooks the power of small, intentional acts. Walking with God transforms ordinary moments by shifting our focus from what is lacking to what is present, from distraction to attentiveness, from fear to faith, and from isolation to connectedness, allowing us to perceive blessings where before we may have seen only routine or monotony. The act of walking with God invites reflection, encouraging us to recognize that life is not simply a series of events, but a sacred journey in which each moment holds lessons, opportunities, and the potential to reveal His love, guidance, and wisdom. Through this awareness, we begin to experience ordinary moments as extraordinary gifts, recognizing that each breath, each interaction, each challenge, and each victory carries within it a reflection of divine goodness and the promise of transformation. Walking with God also cultivates a deep sense of gratitude, a recognition that blessings are present even when they are subtle, and that by acknowledging them, we invite more of His presence, grace, and favor into our lives. Gratitude magnifies the extraordinary nature of ordinary moments, turning what we might have overlooked into a source of joy, peace, and inspiration, and reminding us that every day is a canvas upon which the divine paints lessons, blessings, and opportunities for growth, love, and connection. This perspective shifts our consciousness from one that is preoccupied with worry, fear, and comparison to one that is attuned to appreciation, trust, and hope, allowing us to see life as a tapestry of interconnected moments, each infused with significance and potential. When we walk with God, even the hardships and trials of life are transformed, not because the challenges themselves disappear, but because our perspective changes, our hearts are strengthened, and our understanding of divine purpose deepens, allowing us to see that difficulties can become extraordinary blessings when they teach us resilience, patience, compassion, and faith. Walking with God also fosters humility, reminding us that we are participants in a greater story, that our lives are interwoven with the lives of others, and that the ordinary acts of service, kindness, and love contribute to a larger, sacred design that extends far beyond our individual understanding. Each ordinary moment becomes a reflection of this truth, a reminder that our actions, thoughts, and intentions, when aligned with God's guidance, carry the power to manifest extraordinary impact not only in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us. By walking with God, we develop a keen sense of discernment, recognizing the divine fingerprints in everyday events, understanding that synchronicities, coincidences, and opportunities are often the work of a higher power, guiding us toward purpose, growth, and fulfillment. This awareness allows us to embrace life with intentionality, to move through our days with mindfulness, and to act in ways that honor the sacredness of every moment, transforming ordinary routines into practices of spiritual significance, and turning simple actions into expressions of faith, gratitude, and love. Walking with God teaches us to see beyond appearances, to look deeper into circumstances, relationships, and experiences, discerning the extraordinary potential that exists within what might seem ordinary, and understanding that by participating consciously in life's unfolding, we can cultivate blessings, nurture growth, and manifest transformation in ways that ripple outward beyond our immediate perception. Each interaction becomes a chance to reflect divine love, each challenge an opportunity to practice faith, each decision a chance to align with purpose, and each ordinary experience a vessel through which extraordinary blessings can flow. Walking with God instills patience, reminding us that life unfolds in divine timing, that each step, no matter how small, is meaningful, and that the ordinary progression of time is infused with lessons, guidance, and opportunities for grace. Patience allows us to appreciate the ordinary, to trust in the unfolding process, and to remain open to the extraordinary manifestations that often accompany moments of quiet, stillness, and reflection. As we walk with God, we begin to notice the subtle gifts, the encouragement in a friend's word, the insight in a reflective moment, the peace in a pause, the joy in a shared laugh, and the wisdom in a challenge faced with faith that elevate ordinary experiences into extraordinary blessings, revealing the hand of the divine in shaping our journey and guiding our steps toward fulfillment. Walking with God transforms ordinary moments by teaching us presence, awareness, and intentionality, showing us that every moment holds potential for growth, insight, and joy when approached with a heart attuned to the sacred, a mind open to guidance, and a spirit receptive to blessings. This transformation deepens our connection with ourselves, with others, and with the divine, cultivating a life rich in meaning, purpose, and fulfillment, where even the simplest experiences are imbued with significance and carry within them the power to change hearts, inspire actions, and reflect the love and grace of God. Walking with God also encourages reflection on the interconnectedness of all life, helping us to recognize that the ordinary actions we take, the ordinary words we speak, and the ordinary choices we make are part of a greater pattern, a tapestry of divine design, and that each moment, no matter how small, contributes to the unfolding of extraordinary blessings in ways that often transcend our understanding. As we cultivate this awareness, we begin to see that the divine is not distant or reserved for extraordinary occasions, but is present in every breath, every thought, and every action, ready to elevate the ordinary into expressions of grace, love, and purpose, and to transform our daily experiences into a living testament of faith, hope, and divine connection. Walking with God transforms ordinary moments by teaching us to cherish the simple joys of life, to embrace the beauty of creation, to honor the gifts of relationships, and to recognize the sacred in every aspect of existence, understanding that the extraordinary is often hidden in plain sight, waiting for hearts attuned to divine presence to perceive it, receive it, and celebrate it. It is in this practice that we cultivate a life that is rich, vibrant, and deeply meaningful, where ordinary moments are never overlooked, never dismissed, and never taken for granted, for each one carries within it the capacity to become a blessing, a lesson, and an opportunity for growth, transformation, and love. Walking with God opens our eyes to the miracles that surround us, the unseen guidance that shapes our path, and the blessings that flow into our lives when we approach each moment with faith, gratitude, and attentiveness, transforming what may have seemed mundane into extraordinary manifestations of divine care, wisdom, and love. It teaches us to embrace life with wonder, to celebrate the small victories, to acknowledge the quiet beauty in everyday experiences, and to cultivate a heart that sees beyond the ordinary, perceiving the extraordinary potential, meaning, and blessings inherent in every moment, and participating fully in the unfolding of a life that is guided, nurtured, and transformed by God's presence.